Assalamu alaikum and good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone, whoever is watching from wherever in the world. I'm very delighted and honored to have the guest here. She is inspiring, she is incredible. Miss Barbara Vercruysse is here with us from Belgium. And if you don't know her, let me introduce you. She is a mentor, she is a coach, she has been known as global kindness advocate, president of PWI Brussels, quality and customer experience lead at BMW, as well as a speaker and an author. And most importantly, a lady who is compassionate, filled with love and pure and kindness. So, welcome, Miss Barbara. Thank you so much for being here on this podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's really a joy and a pleasure to be here with you today.
I'm feeling so much happy and excited to be here. We already had some chit chat, and that has transformed my energy completely. It has taken me to a next level. So let's give the same benefit to the audience, whoever is listening to us from anywhere in the world. I am sure that they will feel the vibe and the energy that you are having. Miss Barbara, starting from your journey towards kindness, how did you make kindness as a mission of your life?
Well, it started at a very young age. You could say as a child, people would always say to me, Barbara, you're too kind for this world. Barbara, you will never be successful. People will walk over you. And as a child, I simply could not understand. What does that mean? You're too kind. Did it mean that they want me to be unkind? I could not I could not make sense of it. And I was thinking, what world am I in? A world that I have to be unkind? But as most people while growing up, we adapt very much to the world. So I went to high school, university, married, started a business, and you could say that idea of kindness was had gone back to the back of my head and was like I didn't think about it so much anymore because I was really, you could say, fully into life, like after studying, marrying, starting a business. But at the age of 32, which is 23 years ago, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer. I was married since 5 years and a young mom of three children. We had three children in 4 years. And my youngest was 2 months old at that time. And on top of that, running a construction business. As you can imagine, our days were full, like business, little children. And it had started with it was a skin cancer. I had a little black spot on my knee, which was just bleeding a little bit. And my husband would keep repeating, go to the doctor. And I was like, no, it's no big deal. It's just a little black spot, like there's too much work. I have no time for this. And one day he tells me, War, you call right now or I will call the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor was quite, relaxed. The little spot was taken out and sent out for a biopsy. And then 10 days later, on a Monday morning, it was April 7, 2003. I was already in the office and I took my youngest to the office with me. And I get a call from a doctor, and he says, I'm Dr. Van der Put. Miss Barbara, can you please, we have the results, can you please come to the hospital? And I was like, who is this doctor? What is this about? I had already forgotten his name. And I say, I cannot, I'm at the office. I have to stay here. Let's make an appointment. And he said, no, you have to come right now. And I say, doctor, I'm running a business. I cannot come to hospital right now. He says, Miss Barbara, it doesn't look good. You have to come and you have to call your husband and come immediately too. And I still didn't want to go. And he really had to speak out on the phone that what he didn't want to say on the phone. Miss Barbara, It doesn't look good. It's cancer. And then, I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. So I called my husband. We went to the hospital and I had to stay immediately for all kinds of examinations. And I had the first operation the week after that. They also took a biopsy of a lymph node. Um, After that surgery, I got very bad news. The cancer was metastasis in the lymph nodes of my leg. So I needed a second surgery and I needed a year of chemotherapy. So I really got the news. This doesn't look good. Like it looks right now, it was April. We don't think you will live until the end of the year. So you can imagine you're 32, three small children, like two toddlers and a baby, a business since 5 years, married since 5 years. My parents were younger than I am right now. So they were in their early 50s and they got, like that same horrible news too. So what happened then? In the beginning in hospital, the first night in hospital, I was the most difficult night because I missed my babies and my children. I was looking at the ceiling, staring and thinking, I miss my babies. I was used to have all the time children around me. And there I was, alone at night in a hospital bed, not really knowing what was going on. Like the week before, it was as if my life was perfect. And there I was being told I had 6 more months to live. And, like tears were rolling over my cheeks. But then all of a sudden, I was thinking, come on, Barbara. The children, where they are now, two were with my parents, the youngest was with my parents in law. They are surrounded by love. They are not aware of the illness of their mom. They were too young. So for them, it was like a holiday. They were on a holiday with their grandparents. So I was thinking, okay, you will not make yourself, like you will not fill yourself with desperate and negative thoughts of missing your children. They are not missing you right now. They are in a very good place. So it was as if I made a very conscious mind shift and thinking from now on, I will only have positive and empowering thoughts because there was something within me who was aware that if I would go into despair, into negativity, it would also have an effect on my body. So the only thing that I had control over was my mind. For my body, I had to trust the doctors. They had to do what they had to do, the surgeries, the chemo. And all I could do was really focus on keeping a positive attitude. So from then on, I was really, you have to know, the first 3 weeks, my husband cried day and night. He could not see himself. He was 31 then, ending up with the business and three small children. He was really desperate, which I can understand. But at a certain point, I had to say to him, also to my parents and parents in law, everybody was, like so sad around me. And I had to say, stop. Nobody in this hospital room can enter and cry. I am not dead yet. I'm still here. Everybody was acting as if I was already, like almost dead. And I even had people coming that I hadn't seen from childhood, from high school, because the word had spread very fast, to almost say goodbye. So maybe this could be an advice. If you go and visit a person who is very ill, it's important to not go into some sadness and negativity, enter the hospital room. You help a person who is, you could say, who is facing challenges most by just being present, by listening. What does that person need? I would also never recount um, or talk again about my surgeries, or like the suffering of the chemotherapy, because I was thinking, if I repeat the suffering that I went through, in my mind or my body felt it again. So I would want people to come into the hospital room and talk about their families, their life, what was life like outside the hospital. And I needed that because I was very determined, even if these would have been my last 6 months, to spend them in joy. What sense would it make, even if it was the last 6 months, to spend them, like crying? That wouldn't help me. So that was a very conscious decision. That was also a profound realization that I had. Like, okay, this is something that I have control over, what I focus on and how I want to go through today. The second thing was all those, like those weeks in hospital, you have a lot of time to think. And I was thinking, okay, let's get real. If I would die, would I be happy with my legacy, with the life that I led these 32 years? And the answer was no. And why? Until then, I had lived a life upon the expectations of others. What my parents expected from me, what society expected from me, what my peers expected from me. So my choices had been quite, you could say, more unconscious. Like, okay, this is what you do. You go, like you study, you marry. And of course, I chose my husband consciously, and I'm still married more than 25 years. I'm very happily married. But for me, the eye opener was like, whoa, I had really lived to be a good, like a good girl or a good woman. So that's when the thought of a purpose came back, like, what is it that I want to leave behind? Because I made a promise to myself. If I survive, I would take this second chance with both hands to build a positive legacy. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And of course, it's not from one day in running a construction business and being an unknown woman in Belgium that you become all of a sudden a global kindness advocate. First of all, you have to find yourself, like um, really getting clear about what you want from life, how you want. And it's not what you want from life. The most beautiful life is a life of service. But we all have a unique purpose in how we can serve the world. And I think that was my first search. How is it that I can serve others? How is it that I can build a legacy? So, fast forward from 2003 to 2016. I was still running my construction business. I had done a lot of conferences, courses, coaching courses, certifications next to my construction business. And then on one day in 2016, I was betrayed by two of my employees. And I had to end my construction business with a lot of debt. So I was 46 years old at that time. My husband, he had his own, he's a lawyer, so he studied law. So business was practically run by me and some, like workers and employees. So at 46 years old, I ended with a lot of debt. And one day we could sell our business building, like our assets to fill, like to pay back some debt. But still, it was not enough. And one day I get a call from the bank and they say, well, we would like to sell your private house, the one, you see here, because we want this quickly arranged. And I was fully in shock because it would make us end up homeless. So that evening, I was, like in bed, staring at the ceiling again, having my ceiling moment like I had in hospital, and really asking, you could say, God or the universe, like, seriously, I survived the stage 4 cancer, and now our family can become homeless. What is it that I'm not seeing? What is it that I'm not understanding here? What is it that I need to learn? And I had a deep realization. It was as something told me, Barbara, whether you are homeless or you are living in your beautiful house, you are a worthy human being. Your worth is not dependent on the house. And that was so um, liberating. It was a deep confidence within me. So from the next day, I got an opportunity to work with BMW. But in the beginning, it was work far below my level. And I had to swallow my pride because I needed the money. And I had to do some simple administrative jobs. Before I was CEO of my business. And then I have, like you see, the change. I was still as an independent invoicing BMW. But what it helped me a lot. It was an enormous lesson in humility. But if you have some value and you are doing an extremely good job, your value, like, it is seen. And after a few months, they would say, would you do quality management for us? And then they would say, would you be our customer experience lead? So after a few months, I was even part of the management team. And now I've even, like, a lot larger responsibilities. So we must never despair in life. We get opportunities, but sometimes we want to control them. Let's say that I am a proud woman, but that at that time my pride would say, like, oh, Barbara, no, you're not going to do that for BMW. That is work below your level. Let's say that I had that attitude. Maybe I would have ended up, like, a lot less fortunate than I am now. But I took the opportunity with both hands, and I moved on. So I think it is a very important lesson to be flexible in life, to adapt and move on. And in the meantime, I, like, started being very present on social media and talking about kindness. And more people resonated with that story. And 2 years ago, I wrote a book, The Path of Powerful Kindness. And since then, you could say I'm still working, like, mainly my work is working with BMW because I'm an entrepreneur. I love being in business. That's really a part of my DNA. But, like, in weekends and evenings, like now, I do a lot of public speaking, bringing that message to the world. For me, especially now, where we see leaders who are, you could say, not always a good example, that is to keep bringing light and positivity in the world, even if the world looks dark. For me, you could say, people would sometimes say, like, Barbara, you stay so positive. How come? Can't you see how much ugliness and darkness and meanness there is in the world? And I would always say, darkness is for me an invitation to be the light. And I think if we can do that, each one of us, we each have a spark within us. Some people have it while being a teacher, others while being a cook, others while being, like, an entrepreneur, others while being, like, an incredible parent. We each have that spark. And I would often say, um, we are unique. And if you look at nature, um, in nature, a flower or a tree, it just blooms. It doesn't want to be more than anything else, and it just blooms. And we in society, what have we made? We have said, for example, tulip. Everybody has to be a tulip. But when you are a rose, You have to mold yourself into becoming a tulip, which you will never be because it's not your nature. So, what is the purpose of life? It's really finding that spark, that gift, and blossoming and sharing it with the world. It's as simple as that. You know, we each have been given, you could say, a divine spark, and it's just being of service through that spark.
Oh my God, I was listening you and I was noticing down of what I have to write down with me, what I have to keep as a lesson with me, starting from your survival from the cancer, the way you recovered your business once again, and the way this universe led you to towards is BMW. So we can call it the blessing in disguise. And you
Yes.
are the true example of positive attitude. The way you have guided us that whenever we are going to visit anybody in the hospital who is already suffering, so we should
Mhm.
be giving the positive message to the
Yes,
person.
yes,
And there
yes.
is a lot more I have learned from you, Miss Barbara. I would request you to please share what are the daily habits that we can adopt in our life if we are
Mhm.
falling down, if we are demotivated, if we are feeling lack of confidence.
I deeply, we don't have to do them if we have lack of confidence or not. We have really to do them every single day. Those daily routines are extremely important. Daily routines make who you are, whether you are feeling good or feeling bad. Every day I start my day very early. I get up at 5 before my husband. Now my children are studying abroad, so they are not at home, but I'm getting up very early. And then I start my day with prayer, meditation, and with some journaling. And I think has its own, each one of us has its own, you could say, way which works for us. I think there's not one method which is better than another method. It is really finding for yourself. But I think we are fully human beings, and having starting your day, connecting with your spirit, connecting with something larger than yourself is really important. And then just making that I do start the day also with positive affirmations. And my favorite affirmation is, whatever comes my way today, I will face it with grace and ease. So I think those are being mindful how you start your day, not jumping out of bed and your to-do list. I know that's what we often do. Now pause first and make sure that you're refilling your own batteries. I think that is hugely important for starting your day in a positive and powerful way.
Thank you so much, Miss Barbara. I hope am I audible to you?
Yes, of course.
All right, thank you. Miss Barbara, I would love to know if you can explain to the audience that how kindness can transform workplace and relationships.
Kindness always comes from a person who has a inner strength. I know in society, kindness is often seen as a weakness, but it is not. Um, Let me first explain you the difference between niceness and kindness. Being nice is being more polite out of what we are taught in society. Let's say you have a rude boss, but you are very afraid to lose your job. So he's rude to you, and you're just smiling and being nice because you're afraid. And that is coming from a very weak position. Kindness comes from a very different place. So your boss may be rude, but you can stay outside the negativity and the aggressivity of your boss. Somebody who is yelling, aggressive, is in fact a very weak person. That is a person who is emotionally unbalanced. You stay outside of it. and you start from a kind place, and you keep yourself in a positive bubble, you could say. And you can simply, or you can stay silent, which is a very strong signal, or you can say in a dignified way, why would you say that? Or why do you say that? And that person will normally very quickly lower, will reflect on the attitude. So the kindness comes from people who have, you could say, have already done a lot of inner work, inner growth, and who are really balanced and centered, and that have that inner strength. That whatever they are faced, they can deal with it with compassion and kindness. They can be that bigger person. But to be that bigger person, like we said before, and the podcast, you need a lot of self kindness, because you have to fill yourself with a lot of kindness, that your cup of kindness is full for yourself first, so you can share it. We must not exhaust ourselves to please others in expectation so they give it back. No, nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you to make you happy. There's only one person that can make you happy, and that is you yourself. And that is in refilling, in being kind for yourself and doing those things which bring you joy, and like recharge your batteries. Then you can be even more of service to others. So I was always taught as a child that, like being self love, was selfish. No, it is not. That was very much in our culture. Self love is selfish. It's not. And it doesn't mean about indulgence and, like eating, like a whole bag of chocolates, or, that's not self love or self kindness. It's not about indulgence. Self kindness can even be brutally honest with yourself. That it does sometimes doesn't look so kind, but it is the kindness, because sometimes we have to be brutally honest with ourselves and face things, and in facing things we become so much more resilient, because people can only hurt you in places that you have not healed yourself yet. If you are fully confident, fulfilled, let's say you tell me right now, oh, Barbara, you are a lousy woman. Look at you. And it wouldn't have any effect on me. You know, you can say whatever you want, it would bounce off, because the word, the confidence, the love comes from inside me, and comes even from a lot deeper. And you will understand that comes from spirit, like spirit is going through me. It's not even me. I allow it. But to allow that, you need a lot of training. It doesn't come like that. If you scroll your social media the entire evening and you watch Netflix every day, no, you will not become a mindful, balanced human being, because we have to train our mind as well as we do our body. It's as important. Our emotions. How do we train our emotions? So all of those things are part of that.
Well said, beautifully shared your insightful thoughts and your experience and the lesson that you have truly lived. So I believe that once whatever we have experienced, the world has a different weightage. The world has a
Mhm,
different energy, and it hits
mhm.
harder once we are listening to the one who is experienced person. So Barbara, the way you talk, the way you explain, the way you behave, and the way you connect with the persons, it's a true example of kindness. Thank you so much for being so kind with me in every step of this podcast and even before that. And I believe and I request you to stay connected throughout, inshallah, as long as we are here in this world.
Yes,
I have learned
yes.
a lot from you. The way you were a fighter and survival of your cancer, you started fighting from here. You
Yeah.
started curing yourself from the brain, and then it
Mm-hmm.
reflected everywhere. And even the failure of the business, the way you said that a time came when your own house was not about to be yours, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
difficult time, but you
Mm-hmm.
stood stronger. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
big message for everyone, whoever is listening. Winding up this podcast, I would request you to please share any golden tip that can go till the last breath with us from your side.
Never, ever, ever forget that as a human, you are worthy, you are valuable. I think that's the most important message.
Thank you so much. And this truly is because the world has given us a few parameters that if you are fulfilling them, then we take ourselves worthy,
Yes.
coming to those parameters. And if you're lower in any case, so we are having self doubt on self worth and so
Mm-hmm.
much more. So, Miss Barbara, there is a lot more I need to learn from you. I will be requesting you to be here with me in another episode of the podcast so that we can go deep down in those important aspects of life in which you can help my audience. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I have
Thank you
learned a
so much.
lot and I'm feeling
Thank you.
delighted. Thank you
Thank you.
so much to each and every person whoever is watching us. I'm sure you would have learned a lot from Miss Barbara. That's all from my side. I'll see you in another podcast in another episode. Allah Hafiz.